In this video, we'll be taking a ride out to the Railroad Museum of Long Island. We're currently traveling east on the Long Island Railroad, where we will transfer to a diesel train at Ronkonkoma. That train will take us out to the town of Riverhead, where the museum is located. Thanks for joining me, and this is On Track with Eric. As we make our way out there, we'll be looking for anything of interest. Like, for example, here is Pasilico, one of New York and Atlantic's many freight customers along the main line. When going past a siding like this one, I'm always looking to see what could possibly be there. You never know. It looks like the Long Island Railroad has some flat cars stored here for the time being. That's the old Pilgrim State Hospital spur off to the left there. The hospital used to see freight and passenger service via the Long Island Railroad until 1978. The tracks have been cut back and dead-end in the trees, as you can see here. The New York and Atlantic now uses the old spur for storage. We're currently coming up on their yard here in Pine Air, just outside of Brentwood. As we arrive in Ronkonkoma, train 906 is waiting on the next track. DE30 number 412 is in the lead, waiting to take us the rest of the way to Riverhead.
Two stations past Ronkonkoma is Yaphank. Here we see the New York and Atlantic RS60 working the main line. They have to work around the Long Island Railroad's timetables, and you'll frequently see them yielding to trains like this. As we arrive in Riverhead, we are greeted with the sight of the Railroad Museum of Long Island as we pull into the station. The museum property used to be part of an old lumberyard that dates back to the 1800s. There's a decent-sized yard here for said lumberyard and other businesses, which partially still somewhat exists today where the rolling stock from the museum sits. There also used to be a water tower and turntable for steam engines, but that has been gone since the 1950s when the Long Island Railroad switched to diesel power. As train 906 rolls out of the station, we get our first look at some of the museum's rolling stock from the platform. Right in front of us is Long Island Railroad M1 pair number 9547 and 9548. These were displaced by the M7s and phased out back in the mid-2000s. This specific pair of M1s are significant because they are the only ones that are known to travel to Grand Central Terminal way before Grand Central Madison and the East Side Access Tunnels ever existed. On October 1st, 1998, this pair was put on display for the grand reopening ceremony of the restored terminal, as well as to promote the future MTA East Side Access project. We'll take this opportunity to get an up-close and personal look at 9548. As we get an up-close look at the bogies, you can clearly tell they've seen better days. And there's some extra old third rail shoes laying here. And there's also a rail sitting down there somewhere. These M1s are certainly one of the highlights here at the museum. We'll go over the other more notable things to see here before taking a walk around. Here is what remains of Long Island Railroad G5 class steam locomotive number 39. Since 2013, there has been an effort to restore number 39 to operating condition through a partnership with the Strasburg Railroad. The deal is to raise $1 million in 15 years, and the Strasburg Railroad will rebuild and lease the locomotive. Number 39's sister locomotive, number 35, lives at the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum and is under their care in a different state of restoration. Both of these locomotives participated in the end of steam ceremony that took place in Hicksville on October 8, 1955.
Also present on that day was this Alco RS3 number 1556, which was then newly acquired by the Long Island Railroad. It was used in both freight and passenger service until 1978. It was then sold off to the Gettysburg Tourist Railroad in Pennsylvania, but brought back here to Long Island in 1986.
This locomotive used to be painted in its original 1955 paint scheme, but has since been stripped of that paint job and now sits with a coat of primer.
I was told that it would be painted into the MTA blue-yellow scheme. I was also told that it needs a new set of radiators and a bunch of electrical work that would probably cost over $500,000 at this point to be operational. Regardless, I love seeing a piece of history like this in person, and I can't wait to see it when its new paint job is finished. Speaking of new paint jobs, there's something else here that has just been freshened up. Locomotive number 399 is a Long Island Railroad GE 25-tonner that has just received a new coat of paint in the Long Island Railroad Bicentennial scheme. This unit was used at the Morris Park shop to move other locomotives around for maintenance. Its small size made it ideal for this work, as it could fit into smaller areas that other large switchers could not. This locomotive is in fully operational condition. This is Long Island Railroad P72 coach number 2924 and BM62 baggage mail car number 7737. They are periodically repainted in remembrance of 9/11. Coach number 2924 was part of the first order of P72 coaches that were delivered in 1955, surviving almost 50 years in service until being retired in the late 90s. They were replaced by the C3 bi-level coaches when they went into service. Here is Long Island Railroad number 200, the first all-aluminum double-decker passenger car built in 1932. Despite how it looks, it's in the middle of being restored. There was a problem with applying a new coat of paint because of the compatibility issues with the primer used. Walking through the rest of the yard, we see here Long Island Railroad Snowplow W93. It is a Jordan snowplow spreader built in 1948, a far cry from the modern standards we have today. At one point it was painted in Long Island Railroad gray and orange, but now it sits in all black.
Behind W93 are two ex-Long Island Railroad N22B bay window cabooses. These were built in 1963 and used in freight service on the Long Island Railroad until the implementation of end-of-train devices in the early 90s. These devices have a flashing red light to indicate the rear of a train, and part of the reason cabooses were phased out. There's also two Missouri Pacific cabooses here that became obsolete as well, and Pittsburgh and Lake Erie boxcar number 25624, as well as two more P72 coaches. Everything I just mentioned, including the snowplow, are actually property of the Twin Forks chapter of the NHRS, which I did not know until I was doing research for this video. I'll link their website in the description if you'd like a more in-depth look at these cars. Looking down the tracks to the west, we see on the very left the main line, then passing siding, then museum yard lead. You can actually see that the main line has been upgraded with concrete ties. The yard used to be a bit bigger back in the day, with tracks extending across Griffin Avenue. That's where the lumberyard and turntable used to be, and that's where the museum property exists today. Located there are two buildings. In the North Exhibit Hall, there's a 14 by 40 foot historic Lionel O-gauge model train layout that was donated by Lionel in 2009. The other building is the ticket office and gift shop. Unfortunately, the museum is only open on Saturdays, and I'm here during the week filming this video, so I can't show you inside. However, there's a few things to see here in this area, like Brooklyn Eastern District Terminal Steam Locomotive number 16 built by H.K. Porter. There's also a GP38 cab simulator and a 16-inch gauge train with 670 feet of track that's rideable and was used at the Long Island Railroad exhibit at the New York World's Fair in March 1964. Those are just the notable things to see from the perimeter. But there's more to see once you're inside. And that's going to do it for this video. Here comes train 951 with the same equipment that dropped us off is coming back to pick us up to head back to Ronkonkoma.
If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments or perhaps give it a thumbs up. All feedback is appreciated. I know this one was a lot of talking, so if you didn't like it, I totally understand. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.